via, via, vieni via di qui.
How you doing? My name is Rudy Melchiori, otherwise known as Clara's son. Welcome to my pizza station. This is where you'll find me most nights, right in front of my stone oven. Today we're going to make some pizza dough for you. Now, you have to have patience with me. I usually do about a 30-pound batch. Today we're going to do a 1-pound batch. This is something you could do at home. So the ingredients we're going to use today, this is a basic Neapolitan pizza dough. This is the dough that you use in this type of oven, or if you have a stone at home that you put in your oven at home, this is the dough you want to put on that pizza stone, a nice thin dough. It's got 5 simple ingredients to it. We're going to use flour. Now this is just your Sarasota all-purpose flour. We've had all the different types of flours, the ones from Italy, and we went back to the original flour that my grandma Celeste used to use on her restaurant on the west side of Chicago, and she liked Chattasoda flour. That was her favorite flour, Chattasoda. So we're going to use Chattasoda flour, or Sarasota as we call it here. So we have a pound of all-purpose flour. We have a ½ ounce of just regular table salt. And then we have combined 1 ounce of sugar and 1 ounce of dry active yeast. We're going to combine those two together and put them into a ½ quart of water. Now, the yeast is like a bacteria. It prefers room temperature. So you don't want your water to be too hot and you don't want your water to be too cold. If you want to get the most out of your yeast, you want tepid, warm water. So we're going to combine these two. And we don't want to overmix it. We don't need to whisk it or anything like that because we really just want this yeast to grow on its own. Just a slight little mix together. Set that down. Now I like to, you don't have to, but I like to put my yeast and sugar combination in a warm spot. So I usually have it here by my oven or on top of one of the ovens in the restaurant. And you can see through the magic of TV that this is how it rises. You get that nice rise on the yeast after it's been sitting in a warm spot. Or it'll rise the same, it just takes a little longer if you just have it in room temperature. So we're going to start, we put our salt and our flour together. So we just want to get those two mixed together. Just get them started. And to start them a little bit, I have a little extra room temperature water. Now, the dry ingredients will always be the same. You'll always put the same amounts of all the dry ingredients in your dough. The variable is always going to be water. The amount of water your dough needs depends on the temperature of the day, the humidity. It's going to be different every day. So the problem I hear most here up at the pizza station, talking with home chefs, is that I just can't get my dough right. My dough is too wet or my dough is too dry, and that's because you're following a static recipe, the same amount of water on a different day. So it's going to affect your yeast or your dough differently every day. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit, just a splash or two in there, and a little bit of water in dough recipes goes a long way. And we're just going to put a little water in there just to incorporate the salt and the flour together a little bit more. With a little water, and we're seeing you're getting those little dough balls in there, those little flour balls in there. And then we're going to add, just little by little, we're going to start to add into our yeast water, our yeast sugar water. There you go. And we'll get some of that in there, and we'll get that going. So as you see, we're working our dough, and our flour is starting to incorporate. And you see I still have just a little bit of flour left here on the bottom. I'm going to take just a little splash of some water. Not much. Again, a little water goes a long way, just to work in that excess flour we have on the bowl here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And now I'm going to use my favorite kitchen implement, which is my hands. Very easy to clean, very pliable. Put a little sanitizer on here. Put a little closer. A little sanitizer on here just to wipe the hands. So I have clean hands, or as clean as they're going to get with flour on them. I'm going to add a little bit more flour here on the table. And now we're going to work our dough into a dough ball. We want to have a lot of flour. So here, again, when we're going to knead the dough together. So as we're kneading, you're going to fold over, and roll. Push it away. So again, bring it back, fold it over, push it away. It's just a simple knead. You want to feel that dough rolling under your hands. Now scrape, get a little flour out of your way. Now fold it over, roll it. There we go. And you don't have to work it too long. It should start coming together. A little wet, so I'm going to put a little more flour in there. And again, fold it over, roll it away. There we go. Now, we're just going to tuck everything in, get a nice tight dough ball on the top, as tight as we can get at this point because it's still very loose. Remember, just a few minutes ago this was water and flour. Roll it in a nice dough ball. Get our container back, we're just going to let it sit in its own little environment, and we'll let it grow for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and we'll get back. All right, so now our dough is nice and rested. We have our dough ball ready, and we're going to roll out our pizza dough. You can do it with a roller. A lot of times we do it with hands. Sometimes we do it both ways, by hand or with a roller. What we need to do is get your dough ball, your nice relaxed dough. Going to add some more of our specialty cheddar soda flour. You want to get enough flour on here to work with. You don't have to over flour, and you're going to wear some of it, but you want the dough to be able to move and slide. So we're getting a little flour on both sides. And now the whole goal of the dough is now we've had that nice rise. We have a nice airy dough. The whole goal of that is to try to keep as much airiness as possible and get a thin crust pizza. So what we need to do is move the dough, the mass of the dough, out to the edges. So we're going to start to push, and you can use an 8-finger technique. You're doing all 8 at once. If you want to do it slower, you can just use a couple fingers. And what you're doing is just moving from the edge, from the interior out to the edge. So we want to move that mass of dough to the outside edges. And if we keep turning as we're doing, then we're going to get a nice circular pizza, which is what we're going for. We'll do it on the other side, and again, push out to the edge. And we just keep turning and pushing, turning and pushing. And we're working our dough out to the edges. Now there's other techniques you can do. You can keep it flat on the table, and you can do kind of like a 2-hand motion, a wax on, wax off motion here. So we're going to kind of go this way with this hand, and we're going to go this way at the same time with this hand. So as we turn and stretch together. Now we're just trying to stretch the outer edge of the dough. But the whole goal is you want to get the dough to be thin in the middle, but you want to keep it from ripping in the middle. So if I just pick this dough up and started pulling, I'm going to rip the dough apart, and we're going to get a big hole in the middle of our dough. So we want to try to just keep the integrity of the center of the dough and working it out and stretching it on the edges. And we can also give it a pat, just like that on both sides. Because again, we want to keep we want a nice thin center, and we want to work to a nice ridge on the outer edge of the dough. And another technique we're doing here is I'm kind of keeping the center in place with one hand and stretching it out with the other. So I'm just working the outside edges because we don't want to get it too thin. We can also pick the dough up, and we can do a double knuckle kind of. So if you think about if you're just punching your ceiling, kind of like that motion, instead of the old boxing game, if you just do it this way, and we're going to work that dough. And again, just using this top third portion of the dough. My knuckles are going to be right in here in this portion of the dough, and we're just working it out sideways, kind of pushing it up and out, and not pulling on that middle. Now, as you see, you can kind of see if you hold the dough up, you can start to see a little light come through the dough. And that's where you're going to see it rip. Now see, we had a little tear there as I'm handling the dough tore a little bit. So again, all we're going to do is just put it down. We're going to give a quick little pinch. The dough's going to be very forgiving. Quick little pinch, and that never happened. There you go. So we work it again, and if you want to get real fancy, you can toss your dough. And the whole point of this tossing is not just because it looks really cool, but again, you got to watch your dough. It's going to tear. Is that the centrifugal force of spinning the dough is doing the same thing we're trying to do by hand. So that's, again, moving that mass of the dough out to the edges. That's the whole point of that, other than showing off. But it's all going to depend on your dough. If it's a humid day, this is a moist dough today, so a humid day, if I start really roughhousing with this dough, we're going to have rips everywhere. So if you want, you can do a very dry dough, and then you can invite your friends over, serve them the real dough, the other one that you made, but you can do a dry dough and pretend you know all these tricks that you can do. Then you can pretend that you had a pizza that actually came out. Okay, so as we're getting this out to a nice circle, and again, this is a homemade pizza. This isn't a frozen pizza that you bought made by a machine. This is a homemade pizza. So all these nice little indentions around the edges, that shows that you made your own dough. And then you didn't go buy this pizza. So that's fine. Can't do it wrong. So now, what we're going to do is top the dough. Now, I like to work on my peel. Sorry about that, guys. I like to work on my peel because then I can go right from the made dough right into the oven, as opposed to trying to make a dough. Because another technique to do it is you can make the whole pizza on the table and then try to get your peel underneath it. So for me, it's just much easier. I'll make it right on the peel, and from here I turn and I put it right in my oven. Now, a little bit of flour. And the biggest enemy we have, flour becomes an enemy at this point with the oven because this flour will burn on your stone. So you don't want to over flour your peel because whatever's on here is going to slide your pizza in. So you just want to put a little bit of flour and rub it on. I use semolina sometimes as well. It's more like a sand consistency, and the semolina will really help the dough move with a lot less flour. So we're going to put it on here, and before you put any ingredients on, you want to just give it a little move. So here, my dough is moving. So a lot of times you'll see this, and your dough will catch, and you'll have a sandwich instead of a pizza. So we're going to put it like that. Now this dough, I like to put a little bit of olive oil, a little garlic olive oil. It moistens the dough a bit, and it flavors the dough. You don't have to do this step. This is just for this particular dough. We're doing a roast veggie pizza. And the nice thing about the olive oil, what the olive oil will help do on your dough, and I do a garlic olive oil, so it's not just olive oil, there's a little garlic flavor in there too. But what this does is it actually prevents the absorption of the tomatoes into your dough. Because the tomatoes, when they cook, they release a lot of water. And so as they're releasing water, any type of moisture or water from any fresh veggies or anything you're making is going to weaken your dough. So we're going to put a little bit of olive oil to protect the absorption of tomatoes into the dough. Now this we do a little differently here. We use this is our roast veggie pizza. We use a white wine bechamel sauce. So this is actually a Parmesan cheese white wine cream sauce. And we're going to put a nice scoop of that on the pizza. And you don't have to make it with this. You can just make it with your regular pizza sauce, it's fine. Nice scoop of that on the pizza. And we're going to put a scoop of our tomato sauce. Now this is just, I use California pear tomatoes. We buy the whole tomatoes, and we dice them up with the ingredients in the bowl to make the sauce. So, because I like a nice little chunkier sauce. You can use a pureed tomato, use whatever tomato you want. If you want to get the San Marzanos, God bless you, get the San Marzano tomatoes. I like the California pears, are really good to me. Salt and pepper, a little bit of oregano, basil. That's all you really need, a little red pepper if you want it in there. Just the biggest ingredient you're going to put in this tomato sauce is salt. Because whatever you're used to tasting is a salted item. If you put this on without any salt, that's going to make the sauce taste bland, and it's really just the salt is going to make that little bit of difference. So more importantly than anything else, the salt, I put some fresh herbs in here, whatever you like. And we're going to combine that with the bechamel. Yeah, let's get this out of the way. And we're just going to mix a nice little tomato cream looking sauce. And I like to leave a little tomato on the edges and more of the cream inside, because this cream is going to loosen as it cooks and go out to the edges. But again, tomato sauce in this will be excellent. The cream just gives a little richer flavor. You don't have to have it. I have our vegetable mixture here, which we have some broccoli, mushrooms, green peppers, red peppers, zucchini, yellow zucchini, anything you like. More importantly, the most important ingredient is what you like to eat. You can put any vegetable you want on this pizza. So I'm going to put some salt, just a little salt and pepper again. Biggest thing you can do for cooking, the best advice I can give to you for cooking is to salt and pepper whatever you're eating, because that's how you're used to tasting it. So we're just going to mix some salt and pepper, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just like that. Mix it up. Okay. I like to put a little bit, we have a 4-cheese blend. I like to put a little bit of the 4 cheese on here. Again, you don't have to, it's just flavor. It's my preference, the way I make the pizza here. And then a nice fresh mozzarella base. Or, excuse me, shredded mozzarella. You could use fresh mozzarella on this as well, but again, fresh mozzarella, there's a lot of liquid in fresh mozzarella. I try to get as much water out of the fresh mozzarella as possible. There we go. So now we have our cheese on top, and then we're just going to put our veggies right on top of the pizza. As many or as little as you'd like. Now here at the restaurant, we'll actually roast these a little bit ahead of time. We'll give them a little pre-roast. Just to get, because the pizza's going to cook so fast, we cook at 700 degrees. You're not going to cook that fast at home. So you can put them on here raw. Just like that. There, got enough veggies all around. And I like just a little bit of cheese on top. I like to leave the raw veggies on top so the oven cooks them, so they're going to cook on the pizza. And I leave a little bit of cheese so that cheese melts a little bit on top. And there you go. And we're going to turn and put this right in the oven. But that's your basics of our roasted veggie pizza. So now our pizza's ready, so we're going to get it in the oven. Now what we want to do is we want to give a little stretch on the edges here, because this makes our pizza a little larger. Again, now that I have the pizza weighted down in the center, we can stretch it out and make it a larger pizza, because the weight of the ingredients is going to hold your center together, and you can move your pizza and make your nice circle. So, and we give it one last little shake to make sure that the pizza slides. So here we go. Going to go in the oven, and our pizza's cooking. Now, if you don't have this type of oven at home, which most people, the majority of you won't, you can also accomplish this with a pizza stone. The biggest trick is to get a stone that's thick enough. You want about a 2-inch thick stone is ideal, because what you can do is you can heat that under your broiler, give it an hour, 2 hours, let that heat to get up to 600, 700 degrees with the oven closed. You can turn your oven off, and then your stone is ready to go, and you'll cook. The whole point is the thickness of the stone retains the heat and gives you a nice even cooking on your pizza crust. So that's the key. Most of your stones are going to be a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch thick stone, which is just, you might as well cook it on a cookie sheet. but you can get this same effect of this type of a pizza on a thick stone. So the other thing I like to do on top of this pizza is I like to add a little bit of spinach. Now, you could put the spinach on the pizza, but to me, spinach, in any way you're using it, sauteing, baking, cooking, is something you really just need to wilt and add at the end. Because that gives you the best texture for your spinach. So this spinach we're going to wilt just in the front of the oven. I'm going to put a little bit of salt, just a little bit of pepper, and we can put a little bit of our garlic olive oil on top of it. Just a little bit. And a little extra virgin. And that's it. You can mix it just a little bit, get that salt and that oil moved around. Now I'm just going to put this just on the edge of the oven, and this is going to just wilt, and we're going to finish the pizza. We're actually going to top the pizza with it at the end when we cut it out on the board here. Put it in there. And we're going to leave it, just set it right on the outside. Again, you could put it near your oven. You could softly saute just a little bit at home to get the same effect, but you don't need to cook it on the pizza, because if you like spinach on pizza, you're going to have a rag on top, just a string of spinach on top of your pizza. So that's why I like just to wilt the spinach. Now, our pizza's looking pretty good. Now, normally cook about 700 degrees in this oven, so it takes about 2-3 minutes. It's going to take you longer at home, but that's okay. So here we go. Got a nice color as our veggies are on that. Nice crispness on the outside of that pizza. And then we just cut. We cut usually into a 6. Just like that. You do your triangles, whatever you want. There we go. And now we need our spinach. And again, we kept the spinach. We kept the spinach off the pizza, or cooked aside from the pizza, and just wilted it just a little bit. Now remember, this pizza is still going to be really hot. So even though the spinach is just barely wilting, it's going to finish wilting on this pizza. And here we go. Just put a nice little stack of spinach right on top of that. Put some fresh prosciutto on there. We put on there as times too. It's an excellent, excellent complement to the veggies and the bechamel. A little bit of our cheeses on top. Let's see how that came out. Go. There we go.
Via, via, vieni via di qui. Niente più ti lega a questi luoghi, neanche questi fiori azzurri.